ただいまから 5G、6G
We would
国
like to
際
start
カンファレンスを
5G,
開催い
6G
たします。
International Conference.
本日
I will be serving as the MC for this event. My name is Tamami Kodemura.
Now, 本ワークショップでは
In this workshop, we have simultaneous interpretation service. We have handed you the simultaneous interpretation receivers. Please use them. Channel 1 is Japanese, Channel 2 is English.
それでは開会にあたりまして
In
本ワー
opening,
クショップの主
on
催者
behalf
を代
of the
表して
organizer
総
of
務
this
省
workshop,
国際
we
戦
would
略
like to
局
ask Director General of the Global
局長
Strategy
竹村
Bureau of
光一様よ
MIC,
り開会の
Mr.
ご挨
Koichi
拶をさせてい
Takemura,
た
to
だき
say
ま
a
す
few words.
竹村様よろしくお願いいたします
Director General, the floor is yours.
皆さんおはようございます。
Good
総
morning,
務省国際
everyone.
戦略局長の竹村と申します。
I am Takemura, Director General of the Global Strategy Bureau of MIC. Thank you so much for coming to 5G, 6G International Conference. First, I would like to express my heartfelt condolences to the victims of Noto Peninsula earthquake which occurred in January of this year, as well as the victims of the and my deepest sympathies to those who were affected by the disasters. I would like to also thank those people who are on rescue missions and recovery efforts in the affected area, and I would like to show my respect to those who work to maintain and recover the telecommunications systems. Generative AI is considered to be a technological innovation equivalent to Internet. It is rapidly penetrating into the society, and it has the possibility of drastically changing the world. On the other hand, in the field of information and communications, it has been pointed out that there is a potential for drastic increase in the need for electricity for digital infrastructure that supports the development of and use of AI. Concerns have been raised from the perspective of sustainability. Because of this, next generation digital infrastructure should not stop at just improving the communications performance, but also solve the issues of increase in electricity demand. MIC published Beyond 5G Promotion Strategy 2.0, Strategy for Next Generation Information Communications Infrastructure that Supports AI Society in August of this year, articulating the policy to contribute to R&D in key technologies and establishment of international standards. To make breakthrough in information and communications technology and establish digital infrastructure that supports future AI society, we need to aggregate the wisdom of information communications industry, domestic and abroad. We are still in the middle of disseminating 5G to our society. Going forward, we will consider various use cases that have the possibility of solving globally common social issues and work to develop technologies. I believe there is a potential for further international collaboration. I hope today's 5G, 6G conference would serve as an opportunity where stakeholders of information and communications industry from industry, academia, and public sector would come together to discuss issues at the same eye level, and that discussion becomes the driving force of global dialogue to develop next-generation digital infrastructure. As it will be explained later, we will hear a video message of Mr. Onoe, who is the director of the Telecommunications Standards Bureau at International Telecommunications Union. I hope the decision made at today's international conference will contribute to the standardization activities of the next information and communication technology at such international organizations. We would like to continue to expand our circle of international collaboration to corporations, policymakers, educators, and researchers. I would hope to have your continuous support. That concludes my opening remarks. Thank you for your kind attention.
竹村様ありがとうございました。
Thank you, Mr. Takemura,
早速
for your
プログラムを始
remarks.
めさせていた
Without
だきます。
further ado, we would like to start the program. In this program, we would like to have the lectures from 4 speakers from the government institutions. First and foremost, Mr. Hermano Tercius, Secretary of Communications, Ministry of Communications, Brazil, will deliver the presentation. Over to you. The floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. So I'd like to greet all of you in the name of Koichi Takemura, the Director General in the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications of Japan, and to greet all of you. It's a great honor to be here today and can talk a little bit about 5G deployment in Brazil and about our vision about this future for 6G, and share with you our vision and hear from you also your visions. So I see these buttons here to the presentation. How can I do to pass? My name is Hermano Tercius. I'm Secretary of Telecommunications in Brazil in the Brazilian Ministry of Communications. Okay. So a fast country overview about Brazil. Brazil is the 50th largest country in the world in terms of area, and the 7th in population. So in South America, we are the first one. We have almost half of South America area, and a little bit more than half of South America population. So about economy, Brazil is now the 8th economy in the world. We have surpassed in the last few years, surpassed Russia, Canada, and Italy. We were the 11th, and now we are the 8th economy in the world. But we still have a gross domestic product of $2.3 billion and GDP per capita is still 11.35. But we are growing, as you said, more than 3% a year in the last 4 years. So I will pass this one. Okay. About universal and meaningful connectivity, we in these 15 indicators controlled by ITU, International Telecommunication Union. As you can see, we are already in targets in 5 of them, in advanced level in other 6, and still in satisfactory level in two of them related to connection of schools. That's why our main public policy nowadays is related to that, as I will show you. And 2 other, we have no data about 2 other indicators, but we think that we are going well, but we need to be better in this point of connections of schools. Talking a little bit about penetrations of telecommunication services in Brazil. As you can see, for mobile phones, we have 262 million access, more than our population. So 102 connections per each 100 people. So pay TV, fixed mobile phone, so they are decreasing. And about fixed broadband, we have around 50 million access, which gives, in terms of the most important indicator, that is permanent households connected, we have around 70 to 8%. So we have increased this number a lot in the last few years, most because of these mobile operators that we have in Brazil. We didn't had to give public money to them, but the only thing that we made was give some asymmetric regulatory rules to them to take out of these small operators some part of the rules, so they grow a lot. In Brazil, we have the biggest number of operators in the world, around 20,000 operators we have, small operators, given fixed broadband. for mobile broadband, we have the big companies, but for fixed broadband, so we have increased our home passed indicator from 65 to 92.5% of our houses in Brazil, and this is, we think, is one policy, public policy that was one of the most useful in Brazil in all the time. So this is the evolution of fixed broadband subscriptions, as you can see. So talking about 5G networks in Latin America, as you can see, this year we are still in beginning of the deployment in Latin America, but expecting in the next 6 years to have more than $60 billion, and mainly in the areas of services, 43% in services and more 29% in manufacturing in the next few years. So in the right side of the screen, you can see the concentrations of stations, 5G stations in Latin America. As you can see, the biggest concentration is in Chile and in Brazil, especially in southeast and northwest of Brazil. This is the concentration of stations. Talking now about 5G services in Latin America, this is a study that make a relationship between average spectrum bandwidth per 5G connection and average 5G download speeds. As you can see, there is a correlation in Latin America about that. So the bigger is the average spectrum bandwidth, per connection, the higher you have a higher average 5G download. Brazil has the fastest download speeds around 350 megabits per second, and so this is our map in Latin America about 5G speeds. We have these main public policies in Brazil. I won't talk about all of them, but I will talk about the two main of them. Let me see this new. No, I will jump. So we have we call this is called PAC, a Growth Acceleration Program. We have in Brazil a new edition for this year, and about $5 billion. And so with 5 objectives that are in the low side of the screen, related with connection of schools, 5G deployment, digital pathways, we call Infovias, and postal services and digital TV. But so the most important, I'd like to talk here about a little bit about 5G deployment in Brazil. This graph shows the deployment of 5G in the very first year in Brazil. In the number of cities, municipalities with 5G, we had this growth in 1 year. Nowadays, we already have 651 municipalities with 5G, and this number attends 64% of our population. Okay, so we still don't have coverage in all over the country, but more than half of the country, 64%. And one important thing that Brazil is one of the world top leaders in 5G standalone. They released 16, as Japan. It's also because we have put in our 5G auction rules an obligation to the operators to construct standalone networks, and that's why we have this point. So this is about the cleaning of the spectrum in Brazil. I think I don't need to talk about it. So talking about another important, very important public policy in Brazil, this is the Connect North. Let me jump and come back. So this public policy is related to the construction of fiber optic cables, sub-aquatic fiber optic cables in the Amazon region rivers. So as you know, we have the Amazon forest, and we have a very difficult challenge to bring connectivity to this population who live in this area. And so the solution that we found was put these fiber optic cables in the rivers of the Amazon region. So we have, this is the map of our Amazon region in Brazil. And we are constructing 9, we call infovias as digital pathways, we call infovias, these fiber optic cables in the rivers. And so we have 9 of them, we'll have 9. We have already constructed 3. We are in construction 3, another 3 are in construction, finishing in the end of this year, in beginning of next year, and the other last 3 will be constructed next year, ending in the beginning of 2026. When we finish, we'll have this, we'll have 59 municipalities attended with 10 million people, 12,000 kilometers of fiber optic cables, sub-river fiber optic cables. So, and most important, also very important thing is that with this project, we will save 68 million trees, because if we were construct so traditional networks, pole mounted or so underground networks, we would have to cut and kill 68 million trees that were saved by this project. So another very important public policy, certainly the biggest challenge that we have nowadays in Ministry of Communications of Brazil is connects all the Brazilian public schools. We have more than 138,000 public schools in Brazil. And even though only 6,000 of them don't have any kind of internet access, but more than 100,000 don't have the proper internet access. They have or low speeds or an internet access only for administrative usage, not for classes of the students. And we have until the end of 2026, that's the end of this mandate of President Lula in Brazil, we'll have to connect all these 138, more than 100,000 schools that we will have to make these improvements. It's a very big challenge because so each 15 minutes as I'm talking here to you, these 50 minutes that I'm here talking, we already have to have connected 6 schools. And it's not only to put a better internet connection, but to construct the internal network with Wi-Fi network. One Wi-Fi router for each 2 classrooms. So we need to, each 15 minutes from now to the end of 2026, we have to connect 6 schools. So it's a very big challenge. We will have to have 100 of teams working at the same time, and but we are working hard to achieve this goal in the end of 2026. So this is another public policy that I won't talk here because we don't have time. But so in the end, I would like only to say that we're living a digital transformation in Brazil using 5G and beyond for digital transformations. So making these public policies, making regulation more modern in order to make available the most amount of spectrum in due time and try to enter in this virtual cycle. So more infrastructure, more devices, services, and impact on economic and society. This so impacting many verticals. As you know, Brazil has a strong agriculture, and we are benefiting from technology in agriculture and also in e-health, schools, and smart cities. And talking a little bit about 6G, we have this roadmap. We are trying to participate strongly in the international discussions. This is so the recommendation of ITU that I don't need to explain you. But the most important thing I'd like to talk now about, so these technologies, and that Brazil is trying to achieve regulatory maturity. And so, as you see in the very first generations, 1G, 2, and 3G, Brazil only watched and saw the international development of these networks and discussions. For 4G, we already had and have some national devices and equipments. And for 5G, we have participated strongly on international discussions, and now the same thing we want for 6G. So now we are trying to decrease the time from standardizations to markets in Brazil, and in this way we are showing in the graph. So this is an academic project that we have in Brazil with these 4 objectives. So we have a strong academic projects that trying to make a Brazil internationally recognized hub, coordinate scientific actions, create experimentation environments, and so. And we for this project in Brazil, we already have some international collaboration of these associations, but we still would like to strengthen and increase this international collaboration. So if any of you would like to collaborate with this project, please let me know. I will put you in contact with Brazilian academic and universities that deal with this project. So that's what I had to say. Thank you very much again. It's a great honor to be here with you.
Hermano Tercius 様、ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much,
Thank you
Mr.
very much.
Hermano Tercius.
続きまして、総務省
Next, I would like to invite Mr. Matsui Masayuki, the Director of Technology Policy Division and Global Strategy Bureau of MIC, and also Dr. Iwao Hosako, the Executive Director in charge of Beyond 5G R&D Promotion Unit of NICT, National Institute of Information and Communication Technology. Please have the floor.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. This is Masayuki Matsui from MIC. So first part of our session, I would like to explain our Beyond 5G strategy and also MIC, NICT, Japan's vision on their Beyond 5G. And the later part, Dr. Hosako will explain more or like a bigger vision of our Beyond 5G vision. So let me start with our MIC's Beyond 5G promotion strategy. This is maybe I can go with this slide first. So the DG Takemura, in his opening remarks, he mentioned the Beyond 5G promotion strategy. We issued the renewed kind of strategy 2.0 in this August. But our Beyond 5G promotion strategy started in June 2020 as a kind of still 5G is a early stage to be implemented. But we started to think of the Beyond 5G promotion. And then started the R&D project. And then already 4 years has passed, so we renewed kind of our strategy. And then this is what we have done so far. First is R&D, the code we have beyond 5G R&D fund, and then the MIC and NICT cooperated to provide a grant to the companies and university for the beyond 5G R&D project. And then we now have a 17 project in this last year, fiscal year. Then our total fund is about $774 million US. We are trying to have more fund for the further R&D project in beyond 5G. And also, global initiative as a global initiative. The one of the key achievement is in last year G7, this is the Technology Minister Declaration, and which endorsed the G7 vision for future network in beyond 5G 6G era. And then we are also trying to have more collaboration with international partners to share our vision, and then the further collaboration in beyond 5G. And then we think that now the beyond 5G is kind of graduated from the initial phase to the phase of the social implementation. Then one of the key elements of the beyond 5G strategy is this kind of picture. That this is a kind of image of the AI utilization by society in the 2030s. And the one of the key elements or change last couple of years is a kind of course, it's a kind of generative AI impact. And then the generative AI, especially the general purpose large-scale AI, is a significant impact, has significant impacts in our society. And then we should utilize AI in every part of our society. But one of the issues that we have to think of is large-scale general purpose AI has a couple of the challenges, which are for example, the computation resources. We need a lot of computation resources, and then high consumption of electricity. So this is kind of we have to think of the environmental impact. And also we have another issue that's misinformation, disinformation. We are thinking that in 2030s, the general purpose AI with the small and and specified AIs in each different fields will be well utilized. And then we put, for example, R&D, manufacturing, health, finance, environment. And then of course, these specified AI should not be the silo, so these AI should be well coordinated or well linked with the networks. So that this is, we think that's one of the key elements that the beyond 5G should focus on. And then in 2030s, that is the kind of whole picture of the beyond 5G. Beyond 5G is not just a network architecture. This is the kind of social system of which we can utilize data and AI in every part of the society. And not only just devices, and not only the residential areas. We have to be connected in the rural areas and also remote areas with the many objects and sensors. And then the wide variety of users should be well connected. And then also numerous and small and distributed AIs specialized in each individual fields will be fully implemented and utilized by the people. And also other important things is the computing resources, and such as data centers. And then these data centers need to be a lot of electricity. So there we think it's important to utilize the renewable energy in those data centers. And then these are as a network function, we need a multi-layered network, radio access network, and the NTN non-terrestrial network, and all photonics networks. So we have this kind of, we can say that we have kind of mission-oriented approach in the beyond 5G strategy to focusing on LAN and NTN APN, which will provide the green, safe, secure, and reliable AI to all societies beyond 5G. And this is the three pillars of our strategy. One is the all photonic network field. So we support the R&D testbed deployment and the standardization toward the deployment of all photonic networks in Japan in about 2030. Non-terrestrial network field, the hubs and the satellite communications, of course, we need to regulatory adjustment to further faster introduction and also enhancement of the R&D in these communications. And the radio access network field, the sub 6 gigahertz millimeter waves and 5G standalone, we have to expand our utilization of the radio networks frequencies, and of course promote R&D, the secure frequency in need of the future growth of traffic demand, and the advancement of radio access network, and further utilization of high frequencies. These are 3 pillars of our strategy. So here, this is about our Beyond 5G Strategy 2.0, which was published this August. And then Japan, the MIC would like to collaborate with international partners to further promote Beyond 5G. And then, so here, I would like to stop here, and I also would like to invite Dr. Hosako, or Executive Director of the Beyond 5G and the Promotion Unit.
Okay, today I would like to talk about Japan's vision, MIC's vision, and NIC's vision for the creating or being supported by the Beyond 5G or 6G in 2030s. Okay, many of you already know that Japan has a vision for future society. We call it Society 5.0. Okay, why 5.0? We start in the society 0.1 as a gathering and hunter society. Then we will have a society 0.2, agricultural society. Then third one is industrial society. Now we are living in the 4th society. It's an information society. And we would like to have a new society. We called it as a society 5.0. As you can see here, the symbol in the center, it's a combination of physical world and cyber world. So it is important message. And also the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications has a cyber physical vision for society in 2030s. It's some digitalization has already processed. Firstly, we gathering the data at the physical spaces by using IoT or something, and put it into the cyberspaces. And in the cyberspaces, we use AI in naturally and predict and train and also simulate many of things, and we will get some optimized results. And then we use such kind of optimized result to actuate the physical world. This is a cyber physical society. And we will utilize to support this kind of system by using the Beyond 5G or 6G. That is MIC's vision for the 2030s. And then we made a technology vision for Beyond 5G, 6G, by using cyber physical systems. Firstly, we have assumed some scenarios in the future lives in 2030s. We already made 5 scenarios. And then we extract use cases from the scenario, and then we extract key technologies in the list of key technologies we have, and the future application will be established by the combination of these key technologies. Okay, so many of people are discussing about 6G like this. We have a terrestrial network and non-terrestrial network, and also we will combine all of them. And we also add some other pieces like hubs or new frequencies like terahertz. Okay, but in our case, we add cyberspaces. And at the bottom of the figure, we have cyber physical spaces. And the combination of both spaces will work new technology. And to manage these systems, we would like to introduce an orchestrator which spans both the physical and cyberspaces, and also we would like to introduce a service enabler to lower the entrance barrier. And now we are ready to create a new cyber physical services. And this is almost the same view graph, and As you can see, the right side is a kind of examination which is quite similar to the personal computer. We have resources, OS, and the middleware applications and end user. The main changes which is written in the top of this view graph is that we will have a shift in the place of value creation due to the change of the social structure. This is quite important messages today, I think. And I think that the place where the value is created is shifting from the physical spaces to the cyber spaces, and also the, from the personal data to the industrial data. This is my message to this today's symposium. This is quite important. So I would like to stop my presentation. So I and Matsui-san will have some small talk together. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Hosako, and then thank you so much. Taking this opportunity, I would like to have the time to the kind of joint interactive to Q&A. Yeah. But with the time limitation, I have many questions, but I just want to limit the 1 or 2 questions. So, yes. And then Dr. Hosako, I would like to ask, you have wonderful work on the international collaboration. So could you explain your current international collaboration activity?
Okay. We already made lots of collaborative researches together with European countries like Germany, France, and we plan to discuss something together today in Dutch, Netherlands. And also, we have some collaborative researches already in the Asian countries like Singapore, Taiwan, and Thai. And we also plan to have some collaborative research in the United States. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Hosako. And also, I was very impressed with the BM5G file paper and then the NICT. So I just want to have a question. From what perspective you designed that's the BM5G, the open architecture, and also what is the most important things to achieve the kind of that architecture?
Okay, thank you very much. Firstly, we have a big group to discuss about what is the Society 5.0 and cyber physical systems. And if we add the new communication system like 6G, we will deepen such kind of structure. And we imagine there are many of the use cases, then we have a chance to create a new architecture like I already expressing. And also, important thing is that this vision is quite common to the world because we will have data twins in future, and it's combined together with the physical entities. So this vision is quite common for the world. So I would like to present this kind of structure for the many people gathering here, and I would like to have a chance to discuss many of the things together with many audiences together. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. So the MIC and NICT will collaborate further to achieve the beyond 5G, and then also this beyond 5G should be open, interoperable, and secure, which will be done with the international collaboration. So that we will promote the further international cooperation. We're happy to work with any members here and also in the world to further achieve the full benefit of the beyond 5G. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much.
Matsui-sama, Hosako-sama, ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much, Mr. Matsui and Hosako.
Now, we would like to move on to the next speaker from the Ministry of Science and ICT Network Policy Division Director, Mr. Chung Jaehoon, will deliver the lecture. Over to you. The floor is yours.
Nice to meet you. First of all, it's my great honor to have an opportunity to speak at CTEC, one of the largest IT exhibition show in Japan, and thank all of you, MIC, XGMF, ARIB, and the University of Tokyo. My name is Jaehoon Chung, and I'm in charge of 6G policy at the Ministry of Science and ICT in Korea. Today, I'd like to share Korea's 6G policy, especially R&D initiative. This is my table of content. First, I'd like to introduce the domestic international environment surrounding 6G R&D direction, and then I will share more details about Korea government's focus area in order to lead the next generation network technology development. Especially, I would like to highlight the pre-6G demonstration event, which will collectively show the R&D capacities of Korea to the export all around the world. Network was important, especially in the area of telecommunication industry, but today it has become more important as communications technologies are transforming every sector of a nation. A nation's network is the key infrastructure that converges technologies such as AI, data, analytics, and cloud technologies across all industries and all sectors of society, accelerating digital transformation. It is the cornerstone of a nation's economic security as well, which determines national economic security, economic sovereignty. As a national key industry, its impact and its growth potential are enormous. As digital transformation accelerates, the role and significance of networks will continue to grow. As the new services and devices emerge, data traffic is expected to increase sixfold by 2027 compared to that of 2021, demanding more advanced communication infrastructure capable of providing higher levels of performance and accommodating a wider range of digital services. In addition, energy and security issues will continue to rise. We have to deal with it. And previously centered around the hardware, but networks are experiencing a rapid paradigm shift toward cloud and software-centered networks. Telecommunication companies that used to depend on hardware equipment vendors are now trying to transition to software companies by launching its own cloud services, and global big tech companies are entering the mobile communications market through specialized private networks. In addition, the introduction of Open WAN is in full swing, so networks need to change in line of this paradigm shift. And communication technologies and network infrastructure are important, pivotal for global competition, influencing various aspects of business and economic landscapes by boosting productivity and fostering innovation. As the industrial landscape changes, securing the supply chain has become more important than ever. Countries like the United States, Japan, China, and the EU are making the 5G and 6G policies and aggressively investing in R&D in order to secure telecommunication sovereignty. So a national strategy is critically needed to adequately respond to the global competition in this situation. So global 6G competition has already begun, as shown in this table. As other advanced countries, including Japan, Korean government started its own national projects as well. A 6G core technology R&D program started in 2021 and will finalize in next year. And a 6G commercialization R&D program plans to be implemented from 2024, this year, till 2028. The total funding amount of the two programs is about $467 million US dollars. Korea has implemented various policies to secure its national and international network leadership. The government included the 6G advanced technology development into its national initiatives and selected next generation communications as one of the 12 national strategic technologies last year. And our government also unveiled the K-Network 2030 strategy last to February this year to fully promote next generation communication technology, including 6G. This is the K-Network 2030 strategy, vision and strategy. Incorporate Korea's vision and strategies to comprehensively promote network innovations through 6G, quantum, and satellite NTN technology development. Korea now is carrying out its 6G R&D strategy under the vision of the K-Network 2030 strategy. I would like to focus on 6G R&D direction on the next slide. There are 5 pillars of Korea's 6G R&D approach. First, Korea will innovate wireless communications by developing upper mid-band technologies and coverage expansion technologies. And second, Korea also will respond to the transition to software-centered networks such as open LAN, cloud-native and AI-native networks. And thirdly, Korea government will support telecommunication companies' effort to use their networks and computing resources, not only for just delivering information, but also for supporting digital services on the edge of networks. Korea will strive to develop energy-efficient infrastructure for reducing carbon emission to respond to climate change and also ensuring the sustainability of the communication business. Finally, Korea will secure telecommunication sovereignty by strengthening the supply chain through the development of telecommunications components and devices. To this end, we will work on the 6G commercialization R&D program over the next 5 years, starting from this year, as I just mentioned. The 6G commercialization R&D program pursues the development and standardization of 13 strategic technologies in 5 areas: 6G wireless communication, 6G mobile core network, 6G wired network, a 6G system, and 6G standardization, as you can see in the table on this slide. Now I will quickly cover the details of our R&D efforts. First of all, we will develop communication technology with both high capacity and high coverage using the upper mid-band so that the 6G technology can overcome the capacity limitations of the mid-band and coverage limitations of the millimeter wave band used in existing 5G wireless communication technologies. Regarding the mobile core network sector, we will develop cloud-native core network technologies to provide the high performance, high availability, and high flexibility services, as well as develop AI-native mobile networking technologies for autonomous control and high-quality services. For the 6G wired network sector, in order to enable ultra-realistic and high-precision services, we will focus on optical transmission systems and component technologies, providing ultra-high speed and high capacity from the 6G fronthaul to the backhaul networks. And for the 6G system sector, we will ensure the diverse QoS performances required by various high-level 6G applications such as XR, hologram, autonomous vehicle, urban air mobility, remote medical operation, and so on. We will also develop resource of orchestration technologies to meet the requirements of AI-based applications. In addition, we will develop an open verification platform for the verification of the aforementioned core technologies and services of 6G R&D and demonstrate related services. Finally, in the area of 6G standardization, we will develop core 6G standard technologies by linking the technologies developed through this program with the standard. We will foster experts in standardization and secure patents related to standardization through joint activities among industry, academia, and research for standards development. Our target is to secure about 30% of all 6G standard essential patents till 2030, according to the K-Network 2030 strategy I mentioned at the beginning. Building on the outcomes of our R&D efforts in the 5 years I have described, we plan to share how we envision 6G technology in Korea through the pre-6G technology demonstration in 2026. The pre-6G technology demonstration will showcase our efforts around the 6G technology and globally promote Korea's 6G vision, providing a venue for global collaboration. Through this program for 6G technology development, Korea will further strengthen its position as a national powerhouse by securing 6G technologies and enhance its competitiveness regarding standard. This is my last slide that I prepared. Before closing, I'd like to mention the world's first commercialization of CDMA, mobile digital technology. The technology commercialized in South Korea with its business, academia, and government collaboration in 1996. This was a significant milestone as it facilitated the large-scale deployment of digital technology that offered high-level performance compared to the analog mobile network. And Korea could be one of the major players, especially in smartphone manufacturing. Likewise, Korea government wants to make it happen again by showcasing pre-6G technology in 2026 and investing continuously on 6G commercialization program. And also, we know that it is very important to cooperate among other countries with other vendors, operators, and international standardization organization in order to create 6G ecosystem for the mutual benefit all over the world. So Korea government is also willing to join the efforts to make open, resilient, and intelligent network ecosystem. And I would like to invite all of you here to the 2026 pre-6G demonstration event as a stepping stone for achieving such a purpose. Yeah, thank you for listening. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Jaehoon. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Kim Phirun, advisor to the Minister of Post and Telecommunications, Ministry of Post and Telecommunications. Mr. Kim, please have the floor.
Yeah, good morning all. Excuse me. First of all, I would like to thank the MIC for giving us a chance to inviting the Ministry of Post and Telecommunication to have sharing the about the 5G and beyond. Currently, the 5G in Cambodia are still developing the roadmap for the 5G status. So my name is Phirun Kim, is the advisor of the Ministry of Post and Telecommunication. And today I would like to present the process and current status of the 5G roadmap in Cambodia. The content of my presentation will be cover all the overview, regulation related to the law and the sub-degree that we just recently adopt, and we drafting more of the sub-degree that related to the telecommunication industry. And also the status of the spectrum that currently deploy in 2G, 3G, and 4G, and we have a plan for some specific band that will be used for the 5G and beyond. Cambodia is a small country and located in Southeast Asia with the population around 17.6 million in this 2024. And the most visiting place in Cambodia is Angkor Wat, as the Hinduism, the temple, is the most biggest Hinduism temple in the world. And it's located in the Siem Reap province. And Cambodia have joined the ITU in 1952 as the member of the ITU. Have we currently also the member of the ITU as well. Cambodia have been adopt the law on the telecommunication, the first telecommunication law in 2015. And this law is regulating on the telecommunication industry and also this law have been arranged and create the telecommunication regulator of Cambodia as well. And also arranged the work of the MPTC, the Ministry of Post and Telecommunication, and the regulator of telecommunication in Cambodia. So with this law, Cambodia can be regulated properly with including the licensing, frequency spectrum, and consumer protection, and more related to the telecommunication area. To implement the law more effectively, Cambodia have been adopt 2 sub-degree, the Prime Minister level degree, that adopt in 2023. That 2 sub-degree is one is arrangement arrangement, management, and allocation of the radio spectrum subdegree. Another is the management, construction, and sharing of the telecommunication infrastructure. The second one is very helpful for the new technology because, you know, in the capital city, it will be difficult to find the space, the place to put the tower in the capital city. So sharing infrastructure will be helpful for this implementation of the 5G and beyond. Currently as well, the 4G as well, yeah. And also Cambodia are still in developing the roadmap, is in the final stage of the developing. So other broadcasts, I mean the ministry level also undergoing to develop like technical specification on the telecommunication equipment and spectrum licensing procedure, as well as the general spectrum pricing will be finished in a couple of years more. Currently, Cambodia still using 2G, 3G, and 4G, with the active subscriber around 21 million active subscriber, I mean. And the most of them are using 2G and 4G, because 3G devices are now decreasing, dramatically decreasing. So operator will be shut down this the 3G network quite soon, because will be reduce the cost of the maintenance as well as the spectrum band. And the people in the capital city and some main area province are using with the 2G and the 4G connection. And most of the device of in that area is mostly using the 4G. So with the several million subscribers, it will be make a congestion to the network. So with this, the 5G and the new technology will be the beneficial on these issues to reduce the congestion of the network. By Q2 of 2024, Cambodia have installed the 12,000 BTS base transceiver station were deployed in the whole country. With this number, we can coverage the 2G is almost 100%, and 3G 70%, and 4G 92.7%. And most importantly is about the backbone of the network, because we have planned to deploy the backbone on the whole country, including the remote area as well, because Cambodia are planning to do the digital transformation, based on the Cambodia digital government policy that already adopted in 2022, that will be moved Cambodia to the digital government by 2022 to 2035. This is the policy that Cambodia already adopted. So to fulfill this requirement, so Cambodia should be ready for the backbone of the optical cable. So by mid next year, Cambodia will have the direct line from the Hong Kong that join directly to Cambodia with the submarine cable that invested by the Ministry of Posts directly with these projects. So with these projects, I think Cambodia can have the enough internet broadband and internet connectivity very widely and more cheaper price compared to the last decade that Cambodia in the remote area are quite difficult to connect to the internet. And also with these projects, Ministry of Posts are doing parallel work on the installing the internet to the almost all the ministry in Cambodia, as well as move to the university and also move to the high school across the country, and will be go go beyond to the remote area. So, so the student and the Cambodian people can access the internet freely. So with this plan, so Cambodia will require a lot of infrastructure and invest a lot of, mostly in the 5G and beyond can be strengthened on these projects. For the currently, Cambodia have assigned the frequency band, almost a whole band of the INT that's occupied to the 2G, 3G, and 4G. And this band will be considered after studying with the stakeholder, the operator, about the requirement, about the movement of the technology. Maybe some frequency band will be allocated, refarmed and reallocate for the 5G, or 4G and the 5G for the current status. Sorry, maybe I can skip this one. In 5G roadmap, we plan also low band, mid band, and the millimeter wave. But in the first stage, the mid band will be ready for deploy the 5G. I mean, from 3300 to 300 to 3600 megahertz will be ready for deploy the 5G. Because some frequency band is occupied with some application like digital TV, analog TV, and one team already assigned to study on this transformation from analog TV to digital TV. So Ministry of Post and Telecommunications can be reformed this frequency band in the low band, 700 megahertz, and reallocate this band for the 5G in the near future. Also, Cambodia also consider in the sub 6 gigahertz and 4.9 gigahertz as the ecosystem reserve band for 5G and beyond, because this band, Cambodia as a member of the ITU already put the Cambodian footnote in the last meeting of the WRC in Dubai last year. The investment is very challenging in Cambodia because the use case in Cambodia quite limited. So out of the telecommunication, like internet broadband, the industry is quite limited in Cambodia. So deploy the 5G, that's why Cambodia deployed the 5G a bit late, because we do the case study and we see that something need some time on this 5G. But Cambodia are interested in the new technology. 5G and 6G is also considered, and we also plan, we keep some frequency band for deploying the 5G and 6G as well. So in the strategy, 5G rollout strategy, Cambodia will be trial and officially launched in 2025 based on our draft 5G roadmap. And secondly, we will plan within 3 years, we will coverage 50% of the population that can be able to access the 5G network. But currently, the 5G will be, we consider as the non-standalone network, because standalone network need a very big investment and infrastructure as well. It's quite expensive for the standalone network. For the spectrum planning, the first phase we already talked in the last slide, and for the second phase, we consider in the mid-band of 100 megahertz that can be available in the first phase. But currently, we are occupied to the downstream of the satellite. And also, we consider in the in the second phase for the millimeter wave and low band as well in the second phase. And the third phase will be reallocate for the upper part of the 6 gigahertz and 3.9 for the 5G or 6G. And this is the timeline for the 5G development. We will plan within 4 years because now the 2024 is at the end of 2024, so will be very, very tight schedule for Cambodia to deploy the first 5G. Based on the GSMA 2020, the 5G investment could increase by 71% compared to the 4G investment if operators invest individually. The cost can be decreased up to 39% compared to 4G investment if operator sharing some telecommunication infrastructure. With this benefit, currently Cambodia are do one project with the do some work with the entity Docomo about the O-RAN, and soon they will try all about this technology. After that, with the report of the trial, Cambodia can have the fundamental technical decision about this technology, whether we apply this technology in our 5G network or 6G network. As Korean already mentioned about this, O-RAN is very one of the technology in their 6G development. As I said, the use case in Cambodia is still limited. But we also put some use case in Cambodia similar with the other neighboring country, as well as the developed country as Japan, American, and US. So Cambodia are really happy to work and listen from our friends in here. We can share our experience about the use case of the 5G and the planning for the 6G in a couple of years later. So thank you. This is my last presentation. Thank you.
キム様ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much.
これで次のですねパネルディスカッションの準備をさせていただ
We
きた
will
い
be
と思い
preparing
ま
the
す。
stage for panel
お
discussion.
待ちいただければと思います。
Please wait for a moment.
皆様にアンケートのご協力もお願いしたい
I
と
would
思い
like
ます。
to ask you for your
アンケートは途中入力も可能ですので、会場
in responding to this
ご参
survey.
加の皆様にもアンケートのご入
We
力をお願いいた
ask
し
you
ます。
to respond to the survey. You see the QR code to access the survey.
となっておりますのでよろしくお願いいたします。各国政府機関
We had the present. You would be able to select the governmental agencies and organizations
今しばらくお待ちください。
while answering that survey.
お待たせいたしました。これよりパネルディスカッションを始めさせて
We
い
would
た
like
だ
to
き
start the
ます。
panel discussion now.
5G、
5G, 6G are the theme of this panel discussion. Serving as the moderator is Professor Nakao, who is the professor of the Department, Head of Systems Innovation, School of Engineering from the University of Tokyo. Professor Nakao, please. Hello, everyone. From here, I would like to speak in English.
For joining the panel today, and also thanks all the audience people joining this great panel discussion. So our panel discussion is about XG Cyber Lifeline because today Director General from the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communication, Takemura-san, talked about the Noto earthquake that was happened early this year. And as you may know, so Japan has lots of natural disasters, and also the other countries, other regions also suffer from the similar natural disasters. And at the same time, there's an international conflict in some region we are aware of. And And at the same time, so someone from the foreign country talked about the sustainability of telecommunication business. So all of these, we have to develop cyber lifeline for 5G and 6G. So our panel topic is advancing resilient, robust cyber infrastructure for global digital future. Okay, let me give a brief background of our XGMF organization, because this is pretty new to people. So XGMF is not a 10GMF. We're not doing 10G yet. So we are combining 5G MF and also Beyond 5G Promotion Consortium together. It's consolidated in April 2024, and we form a new organization called XG Mobile Promotion Forum, XGMF. So the reason why we consolidated these two organizations is that I think every country has suffering from under deployment of 5G and also monetization of 5G. We are struggling still. And also at the same time, we have to promote the development of 6G, beyond 5G, 6G. So, and we have limited resources, human resources in Japan, so we decided to consolidate these two organizations into one, and we unite force for XG, 5G, XG stands for 5G and 6G and beyond. So this is the reason why we have XGMF now. So let me introduce briefly our goal in terms of international relationship. So we set 3 goals. Identification of global priorities. So we have to get together and define and align on the technology directions. And so because we also, that's the most efficient way to define new technologies for 6G. And the second goal is the strengthening international coordination. This is the very reason why we invited, various people. And also promote international industry academia collaboration. So, and within the panel, we talk about robust and resilient future infrastructure, but at the same time, we like to achieve these 3 goals for the next, 5 years until we face this 2030 year. Okay, let me repeat our panel discussion topic. So this panel's discussion will focus on advancing resilient and robust cyber infrastructure in the XG era, positioning it as a critical foundation of the global digital future. And I invited experts, distinct experts from US and also from Europe and also from Japan, Hosako-san. And we will talk about various technology, Open RAN, AI RAN, and NTN, and other technologies, directions. And also we finally identify, what we will be doing for the next 5 years. So let me introduce our distinguished panelists. Okay, let me introduce from here to there. So the first, Abuhimanu Gosain, we call him Manu. He's a Senior Director, Institute for Wireless IoT College of Engineering, Northeastern University. He's also Director of Power Project, Platform for Advanced Wireless Research in US. So he's Manu. And also next to him, Paul Wingard. He is Alliance Director, 6G Future Network Services Program Board Unit, ICT Strategy and Policy, Netherlands. So I met Paul in Berlin 6G event, and I learned from him that the Netherlands is promoting a lot of 6G development also and willing to collaborate with other regions. So I invited him. And Matti Latva-Aho, unfortunately, unexpected inconvenience. He couldn't make it to the panel because he had to stay in his home country. And so he's not showing up today, but we added one more panelist today. And Hosako-san, thanks for agreeing to join this panel. Hosako-san just, introduced his white paper and also directions that NICT is promoting. So I think you already know him by his presentation. Okay, let me try to, let these panelists to speak about the trends in each region and also countries. So Manu, you want to go first? Please pull up Manu's slides.
Sure. Meanwhile, while the slides come, I just wanted to thank MIC and ICT, University of Tokyo, and ARIB for the kind invite. Very happy to be here. So as my slides come up, just, and I think to advance the slides, should I just go up? Oh, thank you. Okay, so Aki gave me a nice introduction. I just wanted to add a couple of different hats that I wear and my affiliation, and I think this will become apparent as we talk about the topic at hand, which is resilience. So I'm working with the US Department of Defense's Future G. Again, you have XG, we have Future G. We're all trying to avoid the moniker 6G. I don't know whether that's a foreboding warning about not having Future Gs or not, but I'll stay out of that conversation for now. In addition to that, I'm also a strategic advisor for NTIA, which is the National Telecommunication Association. Basically, think of it as a spectrum regulator for everything non-commercial in the US. And as part of the Chips and Science Act, this institution was given $1.5 billion US to promote open radio access networks, primarily from a key perspective of supply chain diversity, economic competitiveness, and also with an eye towards 6G standards. And then from a spectrum perspective, I work with the US FCC, that's the spectrum regulator body in the US, primarily advising them on 6G strategic developments. And I do want to thank the panel, the presentations before us all over the world, which showed some level of global harmonization as we develop 6G standards. Okay. So the topic here is resilience, and you mentioned the disaster in Noto. Unfortunately, in the U.S., we're experiencing that same adverse effects of climate with two hurricanes back-to-back, Hurricane Helene and Milton that happened in North Carolina and Florida, and that basically wreaked havoc, multiple lives lost, but also primarily from a communication perspective, it was extremely hard to provide connectivity or find people. So, when you can't hear and find loved ones who've been lost due to disaster, it is extremely, extremely gut-wrenching and heartbreaking. And I think that sort of resonates now within the US ecosystem as well. So just now switching topics more into the technical domain, I wanted to talk about open radio access networks, which again is a technological paradigm that is talking primarily about disaggregation. So the left side on your screen is showing you what the 2G, 3G, 4G worlds of radio have looked like in the past, where the entire protocol stack has been aggregated by incumbent vendors. This paradigm now moves, and if you just follow along the graphics, is moving the functionality and disaggregating that functionality into multiple different components, which are called the CU, the central unit, the DU, the distributed unit, and the RU, which is the actual physical instantiation of the radio that basically carries the RF signal as well as the physical layer that splits. Now, one additional key feature here is the Radio Intelligent Controller, or the RIC. For those who follow data center networking, this paradigm is not too different than what we know with software-defined networking, which basically provides a level of aggregation and decision-making in a centralized fashion, but it does that through the use of open interfaces. Now, the key kind of takeaway of this architecture is that this allows you now to mix and match different solutions provided by different vendors, and having the ability for those solutions to talk to each other over or via open interfaces. And this is a relatively new paradigm, but now I think this technology is coming to the point where there are large-scale pilot trials. In the US, we have an operator called Dish Networks, which, similar to how Rakuten operated a greenfield 5G deployment in the US, we have a Open RAN-enabled, native Open RAN-enabled deployment in the US that's run by Dish Networks. So this is going to be a paradigm that's basically going to provide resiliency because it's built in by design. So you have the notion of if different elements are going down or are taken away, you have the ability with the RIC, or the radio intelligent controller, and the use of X and R apps over multiple different time scales, whether it be milliseconds or sub-second, and the ability to really re-architect your entire network at speeds that will be a little bit higher. Of course, it's not, you can't do anything if your radio is down or you're flooded, but essentially resiliency in the form of any kind of downtime, any kind of attacks, interference, jamming, etc., can be looked at very carefully. This is a slide we've already seen in the previous session. However, all I want to point out here is this notion of 3 additional metrics that are being looked at for 6G, which are primarily around ubiquitous connectivity, which are some of the societal and sustainable goals that some of the ministry representatives have presented here. We have native AI that's going to be looking at the entire network, not all the way from the RAN, the edge, to the core, as well as to the services, as well as the integrated sensing and communication paradigm, which we have significant interest from the US Department of Defense's perspective. This obviously right now is primarily used for private area or personal area networks, but we feel that when you have base stations out there that can function as sensors or radars, you now have a asymmetric advantage in leveraging commercial standards for purposes of military and defense. So with that, just wanted to give you a brief, view of where the US is going. And this is a program that the US Department of Defense is going to be starting in FY25, fiscal year 25. And the initiative is named Okudu, which is essentially trying to build a reference open access, but we're going a step further, a open source, open access, end-to-end reference platform for CU and DU implementations that will be working and running on high performance software-defined radios. So this is going to be leveraging the investments made by the Chips and Science Act in a program called Microelectronic Commons, which is building fabrication units all over the United States. And basically this will be providing the hardware perspective. So this actually very nicely resonates with some of the conversations we heard from MIC and NICT with respect to the hardware-software paradigm. But we want to build this for the global community. So this is meant to be a step taken by the USG, the US government and its agencies, to provide a reference infrastructure. And this would be very beneficial for developing nations to really piggyback or build on top of, because this is going to essentially think of it like a version of a Linux kernel. So this is something that helps you now leapfrog and build a platform on top of this reference implementation, and it's going to be built on top of the Open Radio Access Network architecture that's going to be provided. Again, this is something that's happening now, and it will take us about 24 months. We're working with the Linux Foundation, and this will be available to the open community at large for absorbing software from it, but also being able to contribute it or to deploy it in any kind of network configuration that you like. Quick word about the Innovation Fund, which is the Public Supply Chain Wireless Innovation Fund, the $1.5 billion that the Chips and Science Act and the US Congress provided. As part of this program, we are building, or we are trying to stimulate the Open RAN ecosystem adoption by bringing in new entrants and new players, by increasing the adoption of open radio access networks in the US, but doing it with an eye towards a global supply chain. So this program, we're about 2 years old. We have up until now announced awards, about $140 million US for testing and integration activities. So these are ORAN certified test and integration centers, 3 of them that have been funded, run by AT&T, which is a major MNO in the US, Viavi Solutions, which is a test and measurement vendor, as well as Dish Networks, which is a native 5G Open RAN network. We're in the process, very close, about 2 or 3 weeks now, from announcing our second tranche of awards, about $420 million worth of development of open radio units. So awardees are going to be, again, I can't disclose that here, but awardees are going to be a global vendors that are developing open radio units that are compliant with the Open RAN architecture. So the fronthaul interface, the control user signaling and management plane, the open interfaces, but also providing more opportunity to the mobile network operator base globally with the eye towards reducing cost, but also increasing performance and performance parity with what some of the incumbent solutions are providing here. With that, we also have a third notice of funding opportunity. That's what that acronym stands for. Think of it like a solicitation or a call. These are all grant awards, by the way. These are not contracts or heavy-handed. So if you are a government representative here, these are kind of lower barrier of entry with respect to funding that can flow into the ecosystem to stimulate the growth and adoption of Open RAN. We have another notice coming out, the topic area still to be disclosed, but we are now, again, trying to unlock how, now that we have done testing, now that we have built the open radio units, what do we do next? And this will be about $500 million worth of investment that will be kickstarted in the next year. So the point being, up until now, with the US taking a very, very kind of a leadership role in providing and promoting open radio access network solutions out into the global community, and I wanted to sort of talk about what Matsui-san said initially about international collaboration. We're not going to do this alone. None of us are going to be able to do this alone. So the point here is that we need to work together, share information, share access, share resources, and provide a conduit for mobility of ideas and researchers as we kind of move towards a strategic realization of a 6G vision. AI RAN, we're going to talk about this. This is kind of a alliance which has been founded by co-founder SoftBank that is based in Japan. We at Northeastern University are one of the founding partners alongside University of Tokyo and NVIDIA. And here we are talking about providing or bringing native AI capabilities into the radio access networks to advance the use. We heard from Hosako-san about this closed loop feedback system where we ingest information from sensors and the radio access network, use that to make smart decisions, inference, control, optimizations, and then push that information back into the network. This is going to be the key for Society 5.0, as has been discussed. With that, I think I'll pause here and pass it back to you, Aki.
Okay, thank you. So I do have lots of questions, but let Paul speak first, and then we can dive into the discussion.
Yes, then it works. Thank you very much. And thanks for the kind invitation from the Ministry, from MIC and the XGMF to have us here and to give us the opportunity to tell something about the Netherlands 6G program. So my name is Paul Wijngaard and I'm at the program board of this 6G program. It's a research and innovation program, and I will talk a little bit about first the trends in the Netherlands, so what's happening in the Netherlands, then go into details of what is the program, talk a little bit about what we do in terms of test bed and technology roadmap, and then last but not least, it's international collaboration, which I want to touch. So a bit about the Netherlands first. So, well, we have 3 operators in the Netherlands, top quality networks, and some of you have challenges in terms of network coverage. Well, the Netherlands is so small that we have 99.9% of the population covered and 99.6% of the network build out. So in terms of coverage, we're okay. And actually the quality of the network is pretty good. So look at umlaut. Tests, we're okay. In terms of digital adoption, I think we're also okay. The uses of technology, and that's measured by the European Commission in the Netherlands, is okay. And I think depending on which graph you look, we're rated in the top area. So there we're okay. In terms of looking at operators, well, they have the challenge in monetization. So there is a 5G deployment in the Netherlands, but they're still lacking the the revenues and the new opportunities really are slow in taking off. Yesterday there was a lot of talks about it. So there we have a challenge as an industry to make it happen and create more usage of the network. The third topic is the next. So we focus on 6G research now in a large program in the Netherlands. It's a large public-private partnership. And the full national ecosystem is involved. So we define the scope of what type of research we're going to do. It's a scope for 6 years, and it's closely aligned with everything that happens in Europe. But in the Netherlands, we do this by leveraging our position in semicon. So we have a large semiconductor industry. ASML is of course a Dutch company, and now companies like NICT who are in the chip are Dutch, so they're part of our program. Well, the next slide shows a bit of our program, and you see a lot of logos, and many of those logos probably are not familiar to you. Some of them might be, like I said, ASML and like NICT. So in the program, there are on the bottom side, so academics, RTOs, all the universities are in the program, but also SMEs, large enterprises, and the government. So that works together, and we focus on chipset and hardware components. We focus on the network intelligence, the software side, and we focus on applications. And so we bring that together to make sure that whatever applications and companies require is developed in technology. And whatever in technology is available is shared with the end users to make sure that the chicken and the egg, that was somewhere on the slides yesterday, we try to fix the chicken and the egg here. So in terms of funding, so it's a serious program. The total size is 315 million. It's a bit more than 200 million subsidy, and we ask co-financing. So companies that participate have to also bring some own money themselves. And there is a large scope still for open calls in the program. So the program is based actually to address the three big trends, and we translated that to R&D objectives. So the first is, of course, that well, 6G will be a large application enabler. So with the industry, we focus on what kind of future applications can be built over time. So because it's important to understand now what the future requirements are. And with that understanding, so we still have a couple of years to really define the technology, but in these years, the next 2 years, 1-2 years, the requirements need to be brought into the standards. So that's why you need to understand those requirements very well and bring this into 6G ACA and the 6G AA to, as an industry, make clear what you want. So that's the first one. The second one is then, of course, the technology, the higher frequencies, the MIMO antennas. So in the program, there is a lot of research starting from chips and chip packaging and how you bring chips into antennas and how you do the cooling and work on that technology. So that's the second part. And the third one is the intelligence, because it will be a very AI, cloud native architecture. So how are you going to do that? And how are you do it in a secure way, in a controllable way, that in the end we have something that has resilience in it, because you're going to be heavily dependent on the technology, so it has upsides in terms of the intelligence and the advanced part of it, but there are also risks. So do it in a smart way. That is the third part of our research program. And that, as I said earlier, all integrated. And this graph shows you a little bit more detail. So you see 4 program lines. You see then work packages. It's getting smaller, so 19 work packages. So this is the level of detail. So we work on high efficient transmitters, on JCAS, on over-the-air testing. And then over time, first start, of course, with specifications, then move into the prototypes, and then in the end have the demonstrators towards the end. And in the program line 4, you see supporting activities. So I didn't touch on that. So there is a testbed infrastructure supporting this program. There is a track on standardization. So whatever you develop, and of course in the first phase we try to create patents. make sure that patents and the technology developed gets in standards. Because there was some on your slides on GDP growth. In the end, of course, you want to drive economy and earn money. So there is an activity there as well for us. Supporting the third one is the, what is it called? A little bit small, but it is the supporting instrumentation to small and medium businesses. So startup, scale-ups, help them with funding. Then the human capital agenda. So we need to train and educate the people to work in the industry. So that's a work package. And last but not least, it's policy and regulations. So make sure that the government understands technology, spectrum requirements, and from the program we bring that into the government. So this is how the whole program links together. The testbed I talked about. So there is it's an important part of the program where we bring in the technology, where we link it to the applications, simulating innovation, bring in SMEs so that they can test whatever they like. And of course, when the roadmap of 6G evolves, the roadmap should be in the testbed. So here is mapped over time when we think various aspects of 6G will become available, and so that then they will become part of our testbed. So international then collaboration. So how do we look at that? So the testbed I think is an important area. So there we would like to. So we talk, for example, to the 6G Sandbox initiative. It's an EU initiative, but they're reaching out to other test beds. But this is clearly what we would like to discuss with Japan. You know, is there a way that we can cooperate in testbed interconnect? And also explore the initiative to cooperate in terms of use cases and joint projects. So that's the first one. The second one has to do with the leading applications. So there are knowledge sharing. So we currently have 8 leading applications in scope. We're happy to share in more detail what we do, what kind of requirements they generate, and understand your vision there. And last but not least, academical collaboration in general. So the universities, we have 5 universities in the program. So their knowledge exchange, get it organized to share that, work on synergies and networking. And I put, let's say, 5 bullets on really concrete, actionable items. Well, we go to the same conferences, so organize meetups at conferences. Maybe look at international student hosting, so master PhD students who come here, and your students come to the Netherlands universities. But also, well, I talked about conferences. Then the one is, so we come to the Osaka World Expo. So the Netherlands will have a very large pavilion because we also want to show our chip technology, our quantum computing expertise, but also in agriculture. So the various technologies from the Netherlands will be in the pavilion, and we will come with a large delegation to Japan to talk about 6G applications as well. So in May 2025, we target to be here with a group of 25 companies who want to talk about the applications on 6G. So that's a very actionable one. So we'll be here, we'll be back. So we need to work towards May 2025 to get it organized. And last but not least, so that from our side, there is funding. So in the program, we still have room for open calls. So in the next, let's say, 6 to 9 months, we need to define how we're going to scope those open calls. So if you from Japan can match that and create funding on your side, and then of course we need to define the scope. So what are we going to do? So we're happy to share the details of the program, and if you say, okay, in these areas we should do something together, then we can put money on our side if you put money on your side, and then make it happen. So that's my introduction to what we do in the Netherlands, and yeah, it's all about people. So I took a couple of slides of the events because we're only 9 months now. We started 1st January. So yeah, you need to get together and discuss. So let's give it a follow-up also, and then have some Japanese pictures to it as well.
That's nice. Next time you can bring them all to Japan. Thank you very much, Paul. So Hosako-san is a little bit relaxed now, so let him speak a little bit. Do you have any response to all these speakers said?
Yes. We have many collaborative research right now, and we would like to expand our collaborative research to the many of the world partners, and also academic and also industrial partners. So we are very happy to talk with the future collaboration with United States and Netherlands and other companies. So,
thank you. So we covered many technology areas already. So Manu talked about Open RAN, AI RAN, and also testbed a little bit, and the open call for what is it for? I forgot the name of the acronym of that fund. Notice for opportunities. And also Paul talked about the, so I noticed one small thing in your slide, that the national coverage is 99.6 for a built up area, 99.9 for population coverage, which is a huge number. And but we didn't talk about NTN. And do you have any, I listed up as a resilience direction. We need Open RAN, AI and Open RAN, and also NTN. Do you want to say a little bit before we, dive into the discussion?
Yeah. So there is a little bit of non-terrestrial network requirements in the Netherlands because we have large harbors and sea. So we have, of course, very good coverage on the countryside. But if a ship, for example, is in the harbor, connected to a dock, whatever, loading, fine. But if it sails out of the harbor, then still it is an IT-controlled unit with containers, with connectivity, and also when it goes abroad, you want to keep the connection. So, and if you look at the sea around the Netherlands, there is defense, there is ships. There is wind parks. It's a very busy road between the Netherlands and the UK, a lot of ships. So there is a requirement in terms of non-terrestrial in that area, and then it needs to work with the 6G. So a smart way of integrating these type of non-terrestrial and terrestrial, that is a requirement, definitely.
I see.
No, I'll just say, I mean, we all know what a success Starlink has been in terms of providing coverage, and the vision of having satellites in space, sort of providing connectivity, especially when you don't have, or you have pockets of areas that are not covered by terrestrial networks like 5G. So this is the good news is it's being seen as a first order citizen when it comes to standardization, whether it's 3GPP or other standardization bodies. The hybrid network architecture approach of how LEO, MEO, GEO satellites at various altitudes are going to be part of the 5G network or of the 6G network. We're already seeing the groundwork being laid, specifically with some of the work that's happening with direct-to-device technology. So there are major mobile network operators working with satellite players that are trying to bring that technology to the device ecosystem and having the direct connectivity. Now, architecturally, lots of challenges exist. You have, notionally on the radio side, issues around Doppler because the satellites are moving, the field of view, the aperture of the satellite dish pointing down, the connectivity between the ground station and base station, or on a 5G or 6G network, the core network functions like N3IWF, which are sort of looking at non-3GPP access technology. So NTN is going to be an extremely rich area as we see the satellites constellations, more and more of those go up. NGSO is also going to become quite important. And how does that all fit into this picture of accessibility, availability, which is a very important metric that major MNOs and MNOs care about globally, and then resilience, because now this becomes a facet of technology that's available, especially when you have natural disasters or places that are inaccessible, especially rural areas. So of course we're not as fortunate as 99.6 built out coverage, but there are huge swaths of land in the US and obviously globally as well that are just impenetrable. We heard about from the Brazilian delegation about the coverage out in the Amazon, and we're definitely going to see NTN play an extremely important role and be a key pillar, a foundational pillar, I would say, as 6G standards evolve.
Thank you. So, Hosako-san, we have also, what is the national coverage of cellular service in Japan?
Oh, sorry, I don't know the detailed number about that, but in the case of disaster, we will lose some coverage immediately after the disaster. So I know that today Takemura-san already mentioned about the earthquake disaster in January in Japan, and after that, I know that many of the Japanese operators bring Starlink devices to the area of the disaster and quickly cover the area of the coverages. And it's a very good use cases of the 6G or future networks to cover the quickly covering the disaster area. So I'm sorry, not so directly answer your question.
That's okay. So Manu talked about this satellite communication and also mobile direct. And you know that the Rakuten and the ST Mobile, you know, and Japanese companies and the US companies are getting together to enable this mobile direct so that we can have 100% coverage in Japan. Also, Starlink is planning something about a mobile direct, but I don't know for the shape of in detail. But Hosako-san, we have HAPS research that the NICT funds. So can you introduce a little bit about HAPS?
Oh, yes, by using the NICT funds, many of Japanese operators already trying to establish the HAPS systems on the Japanese networking. So it's a quite useful effort to establish the rearrangement, capability of rearrangement of the networks when something occurs. So it's quite interesting, and they will have some good results in near future, I think. Yeah.
I think this is the area that Paul, maybe oceanic area that you know Netherlands has, you know, yet to cover. So maybe HAPS is flying like 20 kilometers above, and then it has a low latency, and which is pretty new technology. I mean, it is an old technology, but there is a large, you know, investment needed. So for 6G, NICT is funding, you know, I think 2 or 3 projects about HAPS.
Yeah, so I know one of the Dutch operators looked at HAPS and they went to SoftBank to discuss it. And I think they needed something like 3 or 4 planes to cover the whole country. But the challenge is that we are a bit up north, so we don't have enough sun hours. So you need to, we need to move the country to the south, and that's a bit of a challenge. So they looked at it, but the power, the solar power and the battery is still the challenge. So there need to be, if there's some innovation and you can fly without a little bit less sun, then it works.
Thank you. So now, you know, we prepared some questions about trends in AI utilization. Matsui-san earlier today, so he talked about the 3 focus areas that the ministry set. That's APN, all photonic network, and NTN, so we already covered this, and also advanced wireless. And maybe we can talk a little bit about AI, because he mentioned that AI will be a foundation. So Manu, you said that the AI can be used for resilience.
Oh, 100%. So, you know, we already are looking at a lot of the work that's happening. And again, I'll point back to the radio intelligent controller. Again, there are 2 that have been defined in the ORAN specifications, a non-real time and a near real time. And in the context of resilience, you now have, first of all, it starts with data, right? AI, data and the quality of data is going to be important. Otherwise, garbage in, garbage out, right? So it depends on what kind of data that you feed your AI models with. And if the data is right and you have a nice big data lake where you have parameterization and data all the way down from IQ samples from the radio to network level abstracted parameters, FCAPS data, fault configuration and performance, and pretty much everything in between, you now have the ability to build these AI models that then can be instantiated as XNR apps into this AI native ORAN architecture. So from a perspective of resilience, if you have different disaggregated components that go down, you have the ability to either steer the traffic differently, balance the traffic differently, and this can all be done in a closed loop fashion at very, very fine time scales. So instead of having, and it takes the human out of the loop, and the ability of this AI system to continually optimize itself when it's done in an online fashion. And now we're obviously seeing, advances in the AI space, especially with generative AI. But we are applying those techniques and models into AI for RAN, as well as the AI for network. So resilience is going to be a key metric that AI is going to enable. And as we move towards softwarization more and more, let the hardware form factor almost become commoditized, right? So whether it be an FPGA, a GPU, a CPU, an Intel, an ARM, or an AMD a chipset or an instruction set, we decouple the software and its implementation from the underlying hardware. Of course, people can discuss and debate about hardware acceleration, and that is something that's still, kind of a challenge that needs to be solved, specifically in terms of the computationally intensive work that needs to happen, for example, with the coding LDPC, for example. But outside of that, I think it remains extremely, extremely important from a service provisioning perspective, from a service management perspective, and as we move more and more into the software, we bring the cloud-native terms of CI, CD, CT, continuous integration, deployment, and testing that allows us to build resilience into the network and adapt to unforeseen changes.
So US made a huge investment, $1.5 billion US dollars. Of course, it's coming from the CHIPS and Act, strategy. But so why is there huge investment here? Because Matsui-san introduced, Japan has a $770 million US dollars for entire beyond 5G, but as opposed to that, US made a 1.5 billion ORAN investment. Is there any?
So this is just, this is 1.5 is just a small drop in the bucket, and specifically for Open RAN, right? So on top of that, I introduced the Microelectronic Commons efforts. That's about $55 billion, which is about increasing the manufacturing base for fabrication of technology. And this is just a singular agency. On top of that, we have the National Science Foundation that's investing funding through flagship programs like RINGS, which is Resilient Intelligent Networking Systems. That was about $40 million last year. We have another iteration of that that's going to come out this year. What we are seeing, unfortunately, still is the adoption of Open RAN in either in the enterprise or the private 5G space, or with major MNOs, still remains kind of a wait and watch, right? So we've seen obviously Rakuten and Dish as stellar examples, but a lot of the Open RAN technology right now is in the piloting, trialing phase. And that's encouraging, and it's being done globally. Every country, including Japan and major operators, are running open radio access network technologies, whether it be radios. But there is a little uncomfortable truth in there, which is around the hardware replacement or the hardware refresh, which is something that MNOs have been quite hesitant with, and especially also with respect to comments made around 6G, and just referencing a comment made by NGMN, which is a major global mobile network operator consortia. They do not want to see 6G trigger a hardware refresh. And more as we move towards software, at least, and this is just speaking primarily for the US side, we see a competitive advantage given that we have a very strong software base and ecosystem. And this initiative that I mentioned, Okuru, which is going to be started by the US government and the US Department of Defense, is basically going to make these strategic investments to close the gaps. But this will be healthy for the global community and the global ecosystem. So I think, again, just referencing back to you, the dollars are being placed in a very strategic manner, trying to unlock some of the inertia that we're seeing in the ecosystem, and then trying to move the community.
Yeah, that's
forward.
a very important point because we learned today that every country has invested, huge amount of money. And Paul, you said that 315 million euros invested already. And Manu, you mentioned a big number, and every country has, Korea put 400 million and Japan put 700 million. So as you said, we have to make the most out of this because, international cooperation. So I think this is the must. Some people say that it's a means, but I think it's part of the objective because we have to build most efficiently, the common aligned technologies for 6G because we have limited resources. So can you, can everyone, give opinion about how, do we collaborate? How do we maximize the use of this allocated fund? And so I think Netherlands, Paul, you are planning ahead. You mentioned that the industry academia collaboration and the testbed, international testbeds, right? So
yeah,
maybe if you have an opinion about how to expand this money.
Yes, so the orchestrated way of innovating and working together in the Netherlands, we would like to expand that to the friendly nations. So there is, in this geopolitical world, we look now really who are our friends, who are our partners, because you need to rely on your friends when you get into trouble. Well, we're not going to be in trouble. We need to make sure that we don't get into trouble. So it's really with our national ecosystem, in a smart way, look at where we can collaborate. So on one of my slides, I had a few action points already. Yeah? So really now make it concrete. So on one way, make sure that the funding is there, because you need to have funded projects. If you don't fund, it doesn't work. But also go into the detail. So we're happy to share the detail of our work packages. What kind of activities are we planning? What kind of deliverables are we going to focus on? And then we're happy to get feedback and you say, okay, if you're going to do these activities with these deliverables, can we join? Because then and I like the mathematics, 1 + 1 is 3. And we learned at school that it's not true, but there are more things in science which we have not discovered yet. So maybe this is a new thing that in the end 1 to 1 can be 3. So let us make that happen.
Thank you.
So I'll just use, and I know you have a point up there, but I'll just connect this to another place where we see how we can foster this is specifically around sovereignty. So 6G is going to be natively is going to be something that's going to be important for nations to protect their digital sovereignty. And we are working, again, there's the point around NATO. I know Marty's not here, he would have talked about the Diana testbed, but I just want to mention some of the work that we're doing with our NATO allies and partners, and I realize Japan's not part of it, but I think what's important is the mechanism with which we are able to collaborate. So we're working with the NATO ACT in terms of defining a 6G roadmap which would be common across the NATO-friendly nations and allies. And some critics from the audience would say, okay, NATO doesn't necessarily have a 5G standard policy, or in NATO terminology called a STANAG, which is a standards agreement. But we are working on that right now within the NATO IST and ACT forum. But now we've also put forth some of the 6G requirements from all the different NATO allies. And I believe the next 24 months are extremely critical. Again, we have other experts in the room that can talk about 3GPP and the global standardization cycle. But the next 2 years between 2025 and 2027 is the time when different industries, academia, are going to be working on pre-standardization activities to realize the IMT 2030 vision. So we're going to have, kickstarting a flagship 3GPP plenary session on 6G in March 2025, and basically that will give us that 24-month time cycle or horizon to really engage before we get into all of the intellectual property and all of that kind of discussion, which obviously strategically each nation is going to have their own strategy. But right now is the time. These 24 months are important, and I think governments, industry partners, and academia need to work jointly, because at the end of the day, this standard needs to be successful, right? 5G is still, again, being adopted. There is a wait and watch. There needs to be value proposition. Is it a success, not a success? I think there's still time because 5G is still finding its path and finding its journey as release 18 has been completed. So I just wanted to make sure, we acknowledge the fact that globally, from a geopolitical stance, a national and digital sovereignty stance, I think 6G is going to be very important, and I wanted to include the conversation around NATO as well.
Thank you very much for pointing that out. So Japan is not a part of NATO yet, but I think Netherlands is part of it. Right?
Yes, our former prime minister is actually the big boss of NATO right now. Just got it. So we're really into it.
Yeah. So if Mati were here, so he would be able to talk about the Diana testbed that they built with the US. And Japan is not joining that effort, but national security is certainly topic to cover in terms of resilience. So, okay, we are running out of time. So thanks for joining. And finally, I'd like every one of you to speak a little bit about how we proceed on the international collaboration, because we talked about funding, and certainly I think, this is my personal opinion, we still need international collaboration funding. We do have, money allocated in each country. So, okay, let's go from Manu and.
Sure. So I think, I think in the US side or the US context and global context, I feel extremely encouraged having, being at venues like this, where you've invited us and invited a global ecosystem of, academia, industry, and government to be at the table. And I think this is important because I liken this to the analogy of a heart, where you have arteries that basically come to a central common place and then absorb that information and take it back. And I have learned enough already from the first panel, understanding what's happening in a global ecosystem. And that's the kind of information that we bring back to find strategic partnerships on where some of our strengths can complement some of the strengths that are available. And especially in the realm of 5G and 6G, we're all trying to find that killer application, that killer silver bullet that's really going to propel the adoption of future networks. And I think we have to learn those lessons. Again, unfortunately, some happy, some sad. So in this case, the Noto tragedy in Japan and some of the hurricanes that we've experienced there, there's a lot of learning that can happen, and how technology has to be adapted to meet these challenges that are going to happen. So we're going to bring that back. I'm going back hungrier than ever and trying to engage with our agency partners to try to motivate them for, future international collaboration.
Yeah, for me, it's 2 words. So we have a lot of common grounds. So we need to execute on those common grounds. And between the Netherlands and Japan, there is also a very rich history. So a couple of 100 years ago, we were big friends, and we were allowed to trade with you, actually, as the only country in the world at that time. So we're still very proud of that. But with that heritage, and I'm not going to lecture the history, but with that heritage, I think in mind, and the common values we see, and the necessity to work on this, because you can't do it on your own. I think there are all the ingredients to make it work. And well, again, my last slide has actionable items. I like KPIs and to work on the deliverables of that. So yeah, let's take it the next step, and it's an invitation. And I think, well, I heard some promising response from your side, so let's make it happen.
Thank you.
Okay, usually the making the agreement among the governments takes a long time, but I think the funding agency itself has a more flexible than the agreement. So it's a chance to establish that co-funding together, and it gives government to prepare the much more larger co-funding opportunities. So now we are trying to make, starting with a common, finding a common interest together with the workshops, something, and then give to the government to think about the future funding or something.
Thank you. So this kind of panel tended to become very comprehensive in terms of technology coverage. But today we talked about focused area, the resilience, and we identified aligned topic like AI utilization, NTN, and all those topics. And the next step, as Paul said, we should do joint POC or joint project together, make it concrete. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. This is end of our panel. let's thank all the panelist speakers.
中尾様、パネラーの皆様、ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much, Professor Nakao and the panelists.
以上をもちまして、
That concludes the morning program. We will have a lunch break now. The afternoon session will start from 1:45. 1:45. Please return your excuse me, and if you are going out of this room, please leave your simultaneous interpretation receivers on the chair. Also, we ask you to respond to the survey that we are taking. The QR code for the access to survey is now on the screen. We ask for your cooperation in your response to the survey.
お待たせいたしました。
Thank you for
これより
waiting.
午後のプログラムを始めさせて
We would like to start the afternoon program from now.
続きまして各ベンダーの3名の方
And there would be 3 presentations from the vendors.
アメリカのクアル
So first of all, from Qualcomm, United States, CTO Mr. Lorenzo Casacha will make the presentation.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. It's nice to be here. So we'll also give a brief talk on some of our views, or Qualcomm's views on 6G, and I will intersperse these with also some personal views. So we'll talk about some of the themes that Qualcomm sees for 6G, and also some of the challenges that I see in all of this. So myself, I'm leading all the technology standardization at Qualcomm. I've been involved with standardization for over 20 years. I've done some other things with my life other than work in technology. So first of all, of course, we don't need any introduction about why we are here, what is happening with 6G. This slide just shows a little bit the pace that the industry has been having historically with a new generation every 10 years, which has been a little bit of a tradition and almost a little bit of a trap also, in the sense that there is this automatic desire to have a new generation every so often. And one thing I like always to start these talks with is also how we look at cellular innovation in general. So we look at cellular innovation as a circle, which starts from research, proving technologies in proof of concepts, and then going through standardization and then trying to bring technology into products and continuing that circle. So that's a bit how we look at things in that way. And another way we look at cellular technology is that in reality, cellular technology doesn't necessarily go into these 10-year increments of 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, because every generation has a gradual improvements all the time. So in reality, there is a continuum of technologies, especially since the days of 3G and going to 4G, where every year and a half, more or less, there is a little step forward. And so this is, we look at this as a more accurate way to look at innovation. Also, the other way that we like to look at innovation in the cellular world is that not all innovation is equal. And a lot of ideas are always proposed, but not everything is equal. And we look at this mental model would apply also to other technologies, of course, but it definitely applies to cellular technology. We look at cellular technology as a tree, and there are some elements of new generation, for example, of 5G, that are like the trunk of the tree. These are really the things that make 5G 5G, and they have their roots on 4G. And then there are expansions of the technology into different segments, which are a little bit like the branches of a tree. And then there are the leaves that are the plethora of very small improvements to the technology. And looking at technology that way, to us, it's important also to distinguish what is important from what is not, because it's the same in a tree. If you remove the leaves from a tree, the tree is still a tree. And if you remove the branches, the tree is still a tree. But if you remove the trunk, of course, the tree is no longer a tree. So out of all of the ideas that circulate, not everything is important. Eventually, only a few ideas are the ones that make cellular technology what it is, which are the ones that, in our view, go in the trunk. And we like this model because it gives some clarity in our view also when we think of 5G or what was important on 5G or what was not important. So this, I always like to talk about this. Now going, and of course this you can see represented in all of the different features that comprise 5G. You could try to go through the effort to map many of these things to the tree. And in reality, many of these things just go in the branches or in the leaves of the tree. Not everything is important, even though, of course, 5G has expanded a lot, exactly like a vibrant tree that has been growing. So from that, we go to 6G. Colleagues earlier already presented the fact that for 6G, we have this guiding vision from ITU. We'll not talk too much about it. What I think is more interesting coming related to the ITU is the spectrum angle that today was not mentioned so much. There is another very important aspect to all wireless technologies, which is a spectrum. And of course, a spectrum is the fundamental ingredient of all wireless technologies. And there is another branch of the ITU work, which is the one related to World Radio Conference. And that is also more and more important in determining what will be 6G. And why is that? Because of course there is less and less useful spectrum, less and less clean spectrum, and in every country or every region there's a lot of difficulties to understand what is going to be the spectrum for 6G, and there are many different views. So of course at high level, 6G will go in a lot of different pieces of spectrum. That is kind of the default view. 6G is born to try to go from the low bands to the very high bands, at least if you read all of the white papers that most companies have published, that's what you would read. And then in reality you have to face bands that have to be economically viable. And this slide here shows the bands around which World Radio Conference in 2023 has determined a work program towards 2027. And where are the bands that need to be studied? And of course, the World Radio Conference is not the only story, because there are also regional activities and country-specific activities. Not everybody follows World Radio Conference or ITU to the letter in spectrum. But I think what is interesting to look in this slide, if we look in the upper right-hand corner, is where there is a lot of interesting activity for 5G, 6G, or 6G, and especially around 6 gigahertz, especially around the upper 6 gigahertz. It's a very interesting recent development that the upper 6 gigahertz is slowly emerging in different parts of the world as maybe the best candidate for new spectrum for 6G. So this, of course, is a developing field, but of course, 6 gigahertz seems to be really what gets a lot of people attention in the last 6 months or in the last year. Of course, in some places, even more than a year ago. But all of this is just to say spectrum remains very, very important. And at the end, you cannot have 6G unless you have a very clear spectrum where to put 6G.
And of course, you would like to have a spectrum that is common or common with other regions, or you're not the only region deploying that spectrum. So I encourage everybody to keep in mind the spectrum angle. So from the spectrum angle, then there are the aspects of what is driving the air interface. And of course, a lot of things that are written here, they are not very, they're probably not very surprising to the audience. There are two angles related to spectrum that I want to call out here. One is that exactly because there is not so much new spectrum available, for 6G, most likely there will be also a desire to introduce 6G very rapidly in the same bands where there is 5G. 5G was designed in a forward compatible manner. In fact, arguably, it's one of the best attributes of 5G to be forward compatible to future generations. So to place 6G in the same bands as 5G is going to be much, much easier than for 5G to go in the bands where there was 4G. And at the same time, of course, in the fact that it's going to be possible will raise the bar even more for 6G to be able to demonstrate to the operators community that it is worth doing so that there is a value for 6G vis-a-vis 5G. And so I think a lot of effort will go in general in the industry to demonstrate that it's possible still to squeeze some spectral efficiency gains from 6G on a new 6G design, which of course does not exist yet, compared to 5G. So from the spectrum situation, we will go to a design driver to improve spectral efficiency in a direct one-to-one comparison 6G to 5G. The second one are these design drivers for mid to upper spectrum. I mentioned 6 gigahertz. I'm sure it will become very important in most regions, and maybe also spectrum in the higher range, 7, 8, 9, 10 gigahertz, even though the more you go up, the more it's going to be difficult. Clearly, there is also going to be a pragmatic desire to introduce these new pieces of spectrum with the same topology of existing deployment. So for example, if today there is a topology of base stations at 3.5 gigahertz, the natural incentive or the natural desire of operators would be to introduce 6 gigahertz or 7 gigahertz with the same topology and achieve the same coverage. And so here there will be a design driver to leverage all possible innovations of MIMO technology. Some people talk about more massive MIMO, giga MIMO, or similar terms to try to deploy 6 gigahertz or 7 gigahertz in the same base stations at 3.5 gigahertz and achieve the same coverage. So these are two very important design drivers, so the first two columns essentially, that really come from spectrum situation. And then from here on, I wanted to talk about non-exhaustive list, just a list of a few of ideas that have been also mentioned very nicely by some of the previous speakers on ideas that are circulating in the industry about what can be done for 6G. And as I said, I was going to share also some opinions. So one interesting idea, which is being explored also a little bit in 5G, is the possibility that with 6G you can have this so-called integrating sensing and communication. What does it mean? This just means that with 5G we have introduced much more directionality in the design. And what does it mean? It means that compared to old cellular technologies that are sending energy in all directions at the same way, now with 5G you can point to very specific directions, better and better. And then the expectation that this with 6G will get better, and eventually cellular technology will operate as a form of radar. And so cellular technology will also be able to scan the environment. This type of functionality is also available in Wi-Fi standards, of course, right? There are some Wi-Fi 802.11 standards to do exactly that, where Wi-Fi waveform can detect presence in an environment. Of course, the promise would be that cellular technology can do this on a larger scale. So this is very fascinating because you would open really new opportunities. Of course, there are also a lot of big challenges that are not described in the slide because this entire idea of integrating sensing and communication is predicated on the cellular operator being able to run this service. And also, in a majority of countries, there are 3 or 4 operators, as we know. And so is this going to mean that there are going to be 3 different networks for integrating communication and sensing, which seems to make no sense whatsoever? Because, of course, immediately, any service that is run by a cellular operator, if there are 3 in a country, is going to start from a third of the scale than any large company like Google or Facebook can achieve in the same country, where they can reach the whole population going over the top. And so this seems a very major problem for the industry, and for which there is no obvious solution, and people don't talk about this maybe as much as they should. So anyway, this is an interesting, very interesting technological problem that, however, has to get to a different level of maturity to get into business realization. Another aspect, of course, not surprisingly, is application of AI to the air interface. I think there was a very interesting talk earlier from the colleague from SKT, illustrated how AI workloads can be merged with RAN workloads. That is something worth exploring. There is also another part which is maybe a little bit more vague or more practical, depending on your points of view, which is using some AI concepts. So here we are talking AI concepts, neural network concepts, machine learning concepts to the air interface. And there is the promise that this can improve the efficiency of the air interface of some amount. So it's an interesting area, of course, is being studied already now in the standard. Now is being retrofitted to 5G. There is a promise that in new design with 6G, this can be even better. So we'll see what this leads. So this is a very different thing. This is just about using tools, like neural network tools, in the same way neural network tools are being used now for next generation of video codecs. They're going to be used also for next generation of wireless interface. It's very different from the earlier point, as I said, from the colleague earlier, which was instead moving AI workloads physically into the RAN hardware. And speaking of the RAN hardware, there are 2 important points that I also wanted to mention here. One, I think, is going to be another interesting element of 6G, hearing the views of many colleagues from the operator community, is that there will be a greater and greater emphasis on energy efficiency and energy consumption. So there's a big desire to have a design such that energy consumption of the base stations is always less and less, which again can mean different things to different people, but in general can be subsumed into the concept of base stations that can switch on or switch off dynamically. Of course, also this presumes that there are less and less persistent signals. If we want to take a historical view, which is not in the slide, when GSM was designed, the GSM is based on the, for people that are old enough to remember GSM, there is a BCCH, which was a broadcast channel that was hopping around and was occupying, I think, about 20% of the power of the system just for this thing hopping around. And then there was a CDMA, and CDMA had a so-called pilot, and you needed the pilot to acquire the system. And the pilot itself was maybe occupying 10% of the system. And without the pilot, nothing would work. And until at some point people started to think about puncturing the pilot, which famously a colleague of mine was saying was puncturing his heart. But then it went to 4G, and in 4G also there are persistent signals. Every cell sends some persistent signal called CRS. And all of these things, they create a rigidity in the system, not only that make the system not forward compatible, but also they force the system to always transmit something all the time, even if nobody's there. And then with 5G, there was already fairly significant improvement with a big reduction on the persistent signals and having a gradual transition to more signals tailored for each individual users as a form of a personalized pilot, to use the old terminology. And there's some side effect of this being some energy saving. And so in this long arc, there is a desire to do this even more intentionally with 6G and to try to have a design in 6G that is really, really energy efficient, energy friendly, and there's a variety of small techniques that go into that, plus the design from scratch for the new frequency bands that I mentioned earlier that hopefully will be energy efficient from this point of view. And the second part, which earlier colleague from Northwestern mentioned, is this desire to go to open system. Also in this case, open system can mean different things to different people. Of course, there is a whole organization called ORAN Alliance, which has been fairly successful. Has started when FreeBP was almost completing the first release of 5G. And ORAN Alliance has worked on, together with FreeBP, through some twists and turns, on this disaggregation of the radio access system, which is a disaggregation with the promise of being multi-vendor. Promise of the disaggregation is there. Promise of being multi-vendor, maybe so-so. And then virtualization, so the ability to move many of the functionalities of the cellular system to software that runs on bare metal. And I think these are all things that have happened in 5G, and surely with 6G there will be also here, I think, more intentionality to try to merge all these ideas from ORAN Alliance into FreeBP in a more structured manner. I think the debate remains up, what really means open, what it really means multi-vendor. It's a very interesting aspect. Of course, to the earlier point, in the US, there is a colossal deployment of ORAN. There is, of course, Dish Network, but in reality, one of the largest operators in the world, which is AT&T, has said that they are going to migrate the whole network to ORAN, but with a single vendor. So in reality, you can do ORAN, but still have single vendor, because at the end, somebody, even if you disassemble everything, exactly if you have small kids and they play with stuff like I do, and eventually somebody has to put everything together. So even if you disassemble everything, somebody has to reassemble things together. So, but for sure, many of the ideas that have come to maturity with 5G in terms of openness of and re-architecting and moving functionalities to software for the network will be part of 6G. There is no doubt about that. And one thing that puts everything, all these topics together, is the reduction of the total cost of ownership. So the general desire would be energy efficiency on the radio interface and this more distributed network. and maybe also the possibility to share radio access infrastructure for operators because of spectrum scarcity. So it would put maybe all these things can come together, all these 3 points that I mentioned in my talk, and the holy grail would be that all these 3 things, so the spectrum infrastructure sharing because of spectrum and more efficient network in terms of energy and virtualized networks, they come together and they allow to really reduce the total cost of ownership for the operator. So this is a very big theme for 6G, which is the counterpart of improving the spectral efficiency that I mentioned at the beginning. So better air interface, but also more economically sustainable air interface. And then finally, I think this was discussed already earlier, there will be surely a big part for satellite systems to be integrated in cellular systems, but I don't want to repeat that too much because it was also mentioned earlier a lot. And of course, as always, in Qualcomm, we have a lot of this work going on, and we have a YouTube channel where on almost any of the topics that I talked about, there's a video from somebody from the team that can explain more. So if you're curious, just go on our YouTube channel and you can see a lot of that. And thank you for the attention.
Thank you, Mr. Kasacha. 続きまして、韓国サムソンエレクトロ
From
ニクス
Samsung Electronics South Korea, EVP of Technology,
ジュホリー様よりご講演をいただきます。
Jaehoon, please have the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jaehoon Lee. I'm very happy to be here to share what we are thinking about 6G. Just as a short introduction of myself, I have been working on the standard since 2000. So this year, now I'm going to spend about 24 years, and I'm also working on the research for 6G preparation with many of my colleagues. So now I'm afraid a little bit that many of my contents may be seen overlapping with what Lauren just said before. So as a starting point, this mobile communications has been evolved over many, many years and over many generations. And the typical trend is that with the new generation, we are always expecting higher data rate and larger capacity. With that, this industry has been able to open up new services and new experiences to end users. Then since 5G was installed in the real field in 2019, 5G has been evolved over multiple releases, expanding its use cases to support many verticals and new services. And now with the name of 5G Advanced, 3PP is trying to develop features as a kind of preparation of the next phase of 5G and also preparation for 6G. Then when you look at 5G Advanced, we can actually categorize functions and features into 3. The first group could be seen as a kind of continued evolution of the existing technologies. One good example is MIMO and also the carrier. And second category would be new technology group, like duplexing evolution, deviating from the traditional concept of FDD and TDD, and network energy saving. As a joke, I'm typically using this example. So when I was working on 4G LTE, there was a proposal from some companies that, okay, let's think about some energy saving on the network side. Then I was saying it's better to turn off lightings in my home instead of thinking about network energy saving. But now this communication network is spending more and more energy now. Then it is network energy saving is becoming really very, very, very important. Then AI/ML, everyone is talking about AI/ML. With the advancement of these AI/ML technologies, there are many new opportunities with which, by using AI/ML, we can achieve many things that we couldn't imagine in the past. And the support of new services and new terminal types. Many people are complaining that 5G doesn't provide really new experiences, services that people didn't experience before. But industry is still trying. So new device types like VR, AR, XR, and also UAV like devices, and also NTN. NTN is also a big trend. So all the companies are working to provide direct access direct communication between devices and satellites. So far the history seems to be good. So we have been doing good job over multiple generations, including 5G. Then we need to see how 5G is perceived by consumers. In some areas, for example, in the US, people are very happy with the 5G. They are experiencing 5 or 10 times improvement of this performance. But then in some countries like Korea, and also maybe in Japan, the 4G networks have been doing so nice, then people actually cannot feel what the real difference is compared to 4G. And some people are complaining that 5G devices are just consuming more battery power. So it is the difficulty that we have to overcome over time. And looking at the overall trend of technologies, now we see more and more virtualization and software-based implementation. And such a trend is also attracting the more active use of AI technologies because everything is based on software implementation. So things can be implemented in a virtualized way in the cloud, and we can have more usage of AI technologies. So considering all this, then what do we envision for 6G? What do we have to do to prepare for 6G? Naturally, we still have to continue enhancement of mobile broadband operation. This is the core of the mobile industry according to our experience. Then if we just focus on technologies, then probably it's very difficult to make money out of that. So we have to think about emerging use cases. So realizing the immersive XR, also digital twin, basically this is kind of physical cyber world fusion as discussed by previous colleagues today in the morning. And the massive communication to connect everything. And the ubiquitous connectivity utilizing satellites as part of the overall communication networks. And also this FWA, fixed wireless access, is a good approach to provide this wireless access everybody without spending too much effort on installing cables under the ground. So considering all these different aspects, what we think more important for 6G is that we have to, we shall not just continue emphasizing the peak performance like what we have done so far from 4th generation to 5th generation. So instead of just emphasizing the peak performance, peak data rate or latency, we have to think about new attributes. So we would say the AI native is the #1 priority. I mean, in order to have more efficient operation and also in order to have reduce overall cost. And also the sustainable network. Now, I have to agree that saving the energy consumption in the network is more important than turning off my lighting in my home. So everyone has to be really serious about saving the energy so that we can sustain our lives on the Earth. And providing ubiquitous coverage is quite important to reduce the overall cost spent to deploy networks and also to operate networks. And secure and resilient network. I mean, we have to continue network operation even though there's big disasters like earthquake. And also we have to be able to protect against security attack. Having all this in our mind, we are also deeply involved in the discussion in ITR regarding the vision use case requirements of IMT 1030. What I want to emphasize is that we really have to be careful not to emphasize peak performance only. So we really have to consider all this use case and requirement discussion will be driven by the practical market-driven approach. So candidate spectrum, securing new spectrum is quite essential for the success of new generation. And according to our observation, this 6 GHz, upper 6 GHz band has a big potential to be used not only for 5G, but also for 6G in some regions. At the same time, we see big opportunities with the 7.1 to 8.4 GHz band. It may not be easy to have global band defined in all the countries, but anyway, this spectrum range seems to be very promising to have good capacity and also to provide good coverage. And in the US, there's ongoing discussion on utilizing 13 GHz and 15 GHz band. So yeah, we need to see what is happening there. So with the 6G, we expect hopefully we can have 400 MHz bandwidth for each operator, even though we shall not only emphasize the peak performance, providing more bandwidth will still be quite important. So AI is being already applied to various network side operation. But then thinking about different elements of the whole communication systems like devices, base station and core network and application server, we have to take some holistic view. So AI can be applied to different entities in a local manner, but at the same time, we also need to have joint AI operation across different entities like device and base station, and the core network and application server. And also, we also have to pursue having the comprehensive AI enclosing all the entities so that we can have end-to-end AI application optimization. So here we are showing some examples of how AI can be applied. AI can be applied to improve error and LT performance, like channel estimation, prediction. And also AI can be applied for network analytics and some network parameter optimization. And also large language model can be used for example, intent-based optimization of overall network operation. And so far, typically in the communication theory, people have been trying to model all the problems, and people have been trying to apply theory to solve the problem, and basically we implement different algorithms. So everything is based on theory. So one algorithm is applied to all millions of base stations. But with AI, we can train algorithms in a site-specific manner so that each base station can have algorithms tailored to its own specific situation. Now let me talk about sustainable network operation. So 3PP has been working on the network energy saving already as part of release 18 and 19. But due to the limitation to keep backward compatibility, we cannot achieve the last improvement. So in 6G, we can have a new design without having the backward compatibility constraint. With that, we can have great energy saving compared to 5G. So, for example, the network can consist of coverage layer, providing basic coverage, and also capacity layer, providing data boost. And the cell can be dynamic on and off with the joint operation between network and UIs. And the core network functions can be defined to have the energy saving mode in radio network. Not only in the stand-up, also in the implementation, we pursue innovations for energy saving. So the power amplifier is the biggest source of energy consumption in the base station. So we are working on a better way of power saving at the base station. So basically more power efficient PA implementation. And also with the better modem algorithms, and also high performance SOC implementation, we can reduce power consumption in the digital part as well. In terms of modulation, I think people who have studied about communications theory are very familiar with the scale constellations. That's good. But if we just continue with scale constellation, we may lose opportunity to have more energy saving. So we are considering to have this such a non-uniform constellation to save energy. Just for your information, actually this non-uniform constellation is already being used in other systems like broadcasting system in the US. But of course, it will trigger a lot of discussion among people because, I mean, this non-uniform constellation will increase the implementation complexity in a sense. And the channel coding. Channel coding is one of the parts that are really difficult to change over generations. But then we are identifying some points that can be improved. For example, in case of LDPC, we can have some enhancement to have more kind of high throughput decoder friendly structure. And in case of the controller, polar coding needs to be defined to support large information size. Now let me talk about coverage aspect. So coverage, in a sense, number one importance for operators. If we don't have good coverage, then operators have to install more base stations. In a sense, it may be good for network vendors because they can sell more base stations. But now, the current situation is not like that. So if we cannot convince operators to install new networks, basically they will not invest their money. So we have to provide really good coverage. So as part of that effort, for FR range, I mean low frequency range up to sub 3.5 GHz, we are working on the so-called distributed MIMO. So having multiple antenna, having multiple sites working together, we can improve performance, we can save energy, and we can improve coverage. And for FR2 millimeter wave band operation, one of the biggest bottleneck is the uplink coverage, because device cannot radiate high power signal. So in the typical implementation currently, we have the analog RS beamforming. With analog RS beamforming, we can have only one RS beam at a time. With this joint phase timing array, we can have this delay component for each antenna, then we can have frequency selective response, then we can form multiple beams so that devices can have more opportunities to send a signal, then there can be repetition gain. So with that, we believe we can improve uplink coverage with the millimeter wave band operation. And extreme MIMO, this is very famous technology. Basically, utilizing quite many antenna elements, we can have better beamforming technology, we can improve coverage. And this will be particularly important for FR3 band operation. And as another effort of improving uplink coverage, 3PP has defined the technology so-called SBFD, sub-band non-overlapping full duplex, which is basically allowing simultaneous uplink transmission also in the downlink timeline TDD band. That way, you can have more energies on the uplink transmission and can improve uplink coverage. NTN, I don't need to add additional explanation. This is very obvious approach to improve coverage. And the waveform. So now the mobile industry has been using OFDM and the DFTS OFDM since 4G. In 5G, there has been no change, basically. But then in 6G, probably we need to take a more aggressive approach to improve uplink coverage. So basically applying the frequency domain spectrum shaping for PFA reduction. Then we can have, according to our initial simulations, we observed about 5 dB PFA reduction. Then of course, there may be a lot of discussion how we can achieve this gain. Do we need to have some standardized support for such a frequency domain spectrum shaping? And last but not the least, we also need to think about secure and intelligent network operation. With the advancement of computing technologies like quantum computing, there's, I mean, basically, the hackers, for example, can have much higher capacity to have attack to the network. So we need to have some post-quantum cryptography technologies. And with the software-based approach, open-end approach, there's more surface for attackers to try this security threat. So then we can apply the principle, the so-called never trust, always verify. So we cannot trust anyone. We always have to monitor everybody, and we have to make sure that nobody will be doing strange effort. So this is called the zero trust architecture. And the reliability, so even though there are disasters, we have to make sure that the computing power on the network side can still continue. So some parts of that may be in a bad situation, some parts may not work well, but still the other parts can continue to work, then we can maintain the overall network operation. As the final slide, I'm talking about overall timeline for 6G. So 3PP is going to have 6 workshops in March next year. And we expect that there will be some working group level technology studies starting from June next year. Then spending about 3 years or little bit more than 3 years, we can finalize specification around March 2029. With that, hopefully we can have the first 6G network deployment early 2030 timeframe. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. And now we would like to now move on to Mr. Seizo Oneo, the Director of Telecommunications Standardization Bureau of ITU, will deliver the video message.
To send you my greetings and best wishes. ITU works in 3 main areas: radio communication, standardization, and development. We are responsible for regulations and standards that help everyone to move forward with confidence and certainty. We also have a key responsibilities to ensure that this value reaches every part of the world. We want everyone, everywhere, to benefit from advances in areas like 5G, 6G, artificial intelligence, and quantum information technology. Inclusive global progress is at the heart of ITU's mission and values. Here I again thank the government of Japan for your strong support to our work to help developing countries take full advantage of ITU's standards. 6G is now appearing on the horizon. ITU has established the IMT 2030 vision and the IMT 2030 framework and overall objectives. Work is now focused on the minimum performance requirements and detailed evaluation criteria. In June 2025, the industry will provide candidate radio interface technologies to be submitted, at the latest by June 2027. Our standardization work is also supporting key innovations for network intelligence, intelligence that has become essential to our complex networks and advanced services. Unlike 5G, 6G will also introduce new requirements for optical networks. We have organized a workshop on this topic in Hong Kong this November, and I encourage you to join us. Our workshops are open to all interested experts. The work of ITU is driven by a wide range of experts from government, industry, and academia. We are committed to collaboration and consensus. I very much look forward to our continued work together to create a digital future we want. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was Mr. Inoue. Lastly, I would like to invite Mr. Seiji Nishioka, Secretary General of XGMF, to say a few words for closing. Could you please have the floor, Mr. Nishioka?
はい、ご紹介ありがとうございました。
Thank you for the introduction. I am Nishioka of the Association of Radio Industries and Businesses, ARIB, one of the co-hosts of this event, and I am also the Secretary General of XGMF. On behalf of the co-organizers, I would like to make a closing speech. First of all, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all of you who participated in this event, especially to the speakers who came to Japan for this event, traveling all the way from Brazil, the United States, and the Netherlands, and from Korea, China, Cambodia, from Cambodia in Asia, as well as to all of those involved in co-hosting the event. And thank you very much for all your work. The Association of Radio Industries and Businesses, ARIB, is an industry organization established to promote the development of Japan's radio wave-related industries. ARIB's diverse activities include standardization of radio communication and broadcasting technologies, frequency management, and promotion of radio wave utilization. In addition, the XG Mobile Communications Promotion Forum, or XGMF, launched in April of this year, is the result of the merger of the 5th Generation Mobile Promotion Forum and the Beyond 5G Promotion Consortium, and it brings together the resources of the two previous organizations in conducting various activities. For ARIB and XGMF, this event was a new step forward and an opportunity to gain many insights into the future development of 5G and 6G technologies. Now, 5G is entering a stage where the network infrastructure is steadily being developed. Demonstration tests are being conducted in various fields, and further practical applications are about to spread. In addition, as Mr. Onoue mentioned, the ITU has completed its framework recommendations for 6G with the aim of a commercialization around 2030, and discussions on technical performance requirements and evaluation methods have begun. The 3GPP has also begun discussions, including various workshops on 6G. Through this event, I was deeply impressed by the social impact of the potential of 5G. And on the morning of the first day, we were introduced to examples of 5G demonstrations such as maglev Shinkansen, automated driving, and even wind power generation, and understand that 5G technology is about to spread to a variety of applications on land, sea, and the sky. The afternoon session focused on social implementation of 5G in the manufacturing industry, and listened to the passionate discussions among the participants and understood the importance of industry-wide cooperation, because it was discussed that it is very difficult to understand the requirements. Therefore, we need to continue to conduct the hearings on the requirements in order to further understand the requirements. Today, on the second day, we received many lectures from international perspectives, including from government officials, speeches from 5G, 6G organizations from abroad, and carriers and vendors invited from abroad provided a valuable opportunity to understand international technology trends and demonstration cases. In particular, the panel discussion focused on promoting resilient and robust cyber infrastructure in the XG era, and how cutting-edge technologies such as Open RAN and AI RAN in networks can ensure secure and reliable communications. And there are various funds being prepared. 5G, of course, still has various challenges, including the need for license registration and software tuning for each service while offering the advantages of high-speed communication and low latency. However, by resolving these issues, as I said earlier, one by one, those requirements from various industrial sectors through our conducting hearings. And then we believe that 5G will provide new values to society as a whole. Furthermore, 6G is also expected to extend its service area to outer space, sky, and play a major role not only in our daily lives, but also in disaster management. However, 6G cannot be realized without the success of 5G. In order to achieve success of 6G, we recognize that there is the urgent need to promote and implement 5G. And this is an issue that must be addressed in cooperation with all of you in various segments of industries. Last but not least, the XGMF will continue to deepen international collaboration and further promote various initiatives for the spread and implementation of 5G and the introduction of 6G. I would like to ask for your continued support and cooperation to conclude this event. Thank you very much for your active participation over the past days. Thank you very much, Mr. Nishioka. With this, we would like to declare that all the programs for today have been completed. All the speakers, and also for all of you who have contributed to the preparation of this event, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude. With this, I would like to declare closing of this event. Lastly, I would like to ask for your cooperation on the questionnaire. You will find a QR code which is given in the pamphlet that you have been given, and utilizing this URL which is presented on the screen in front of you, utilizing that URL to respond to the questionnaire. And we would seek your understanding, appreciate your cooperation in advance. And the receiver for the simultaneous translation service should be returned to the staffers at the registration desk. With this, we would like to conclude 5G, 6G International Conference. Thank you very much for viewing online as well.